or maybe all the things I just said, to get a better idea of what was going on back in the day. But first, we need a little bit of context to what freak shows exactly are. And before we get into that, I do want to let you guys know that the last video was actually taken down for violating community guidelines again. Woohoo! So you guys are probably wondering, Tuv, what are you even doing? Like, what's going on with YouTube at this point? So at this point, I mean, I have Patreon, and you guys can support me there, and it's literally $5, and $5 you get everything. And there's also a $10 tier where that's if you want to be extra nice to me. You don't have to though. $5 you get everything. You get all the taken down videos. They're uncensored, but yeah, it's annoying. I mean, but it's, I don't know. I guess I'm always pushing the envelope somehow. I guess I'm just edgy like that. But yeah, I'm letting you guys know I still got my spirits up. Y'all know YouTube isn't my only form of revenue. I do have my brand and music, but it just it does suck. And I just want to let you guys know that I do have Patreon where you can see taking down videos and you can talk to me on Discord. It's pretty cool. And I also want to thank the brands that sponsor this channel because obviously I get a lot of stuff taken down. So speaking of sponsors, I do want to thank today's sponsor, Rocket Money. Do you like saving money? I really hope you said yes, because if you did, well then, introducing today's sponsor, Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that lets you cancel subscriptions, owe bills, and overall manage your money better. I love using Rocket Money to set budgets because, guys, I'm not gonna lie, I have an addiction. An addiction to going to my house instead of being a normal person and going to go get groceries. And y'all already know how unnecessarily expensive food is on me. A cup of water that's usually free will instead be like 52 bucks and you're sold. So with the budget feature, you can analyze your spending habits to create a custom budget that works with your lifestyle. Automatically monitor your spending categories and get notifications when you're exceeding your limits. It's like having a little devil on your shoulder. Except as Rocket Money is telling you, hey bruh, you probably shouldn't buy those products. Rocket Money has helped save its customers an average of $120 to save more and spend less.
Mainly adventures on YouTube.
Go to rocketmoney.com/shop or click the link in the description below to get started for free. And now let's head back to the video. So, freak shows, also known as circus sideshows, began way back in 16th century England. They caught on slowly in time, and by the 1800s, they were full-on recognized as a viable trade. They were particularly seen as those with physical deformities, disabilities, and things of that nature to make quick money as they couldn't do so anywhere else. Also, this was a time when traveling circuses had become a thing, with caravans moving from village to village, especially targeting seasons when people had money to spend. So, there was money to be made. By the 19th and early 20th century, the shows had grown so much that they were at their peak both in England and the US. We're talking about fully successful commercial enterprises like Ringling Brothers and Barnum & Bailey. They were running the industry. This was mostly from the 1840s to the 1940s, a time when parading people with rare attributes, be it mental, physical, or behavioral, was a very profitable thing to do and not really morally frowned upon. We'll come back to that later in the video, but one weird fact I have to mention here is that back in the 1800s, a time when these circuses really thrived, was also a time very much governed by an anti-disabled people sentiment, sort of like the need to tuck away people with a disability, considering them unsightly and removing them from streets, highways, and similar public places. In 1881, the city of Chicago, for instance, had in effect an official rule stating that anyone who was, quote, diseased, maimed, mutilated, or in any way deformed so as to be an unsightly or disgusting object was not allowed in public places, failure to which they would get fined $1 each time they broke the rule. Interestingly, the law allowed these people to be out in public, but only if the context was that they were working at a freak show. This exception was termed a case of exhibition of monsters or freaks of nature. Now, I've used that 1881 Municipal Code of Chicago as just an example, but it's quite representative of what was going on across the US. Denver, Colorado, and Nebraska have, for instance, quickly implemented similar rules in 1889. Anyway, now that we have context, what were some of the exact ways that these rules and perceptions were affecting individual performers? Let's start with the Siamese twins. Siamese twins, also known as conjoined twins, are a pretty unusual occurrence. The chance of them happening is as rare as 1 in 1,000 birds. So, given the unlikely chance of their existence, you can probably see why they would end up in a freak show. Two of the popular ones are Daisy and Violet Hilton, and Chang and Ang Bunker. And sadly, in both cases, they experienced really dark times as performers, all thanks to what we just talked about with the regarding perceptions of disabled people in general. Daisy and Violet Hilton, for example, had negativity followed in life through birth. Born in 1908 in England, their mother, Kate Skinner, got them out of wedlock and thought they were, quote, God's punishment for her indiscretions. She wanted nothing to do with them. And it only got worse from there. Mary Hilton, the midwife who took them in, began showcasing them immediately. She made her son-in-law, Meyer Myers, their agent, and they crisscrossed the entire US, being displayed every now and then. They worked under very oppressive conditions, for example, being kept in isolation unless they were performing. And Hilton, their adoptive mom, even allowing spectators to touch them at the place where their bodies were joined. She also apparently, and maybe unsurprisingly, kept all the money they made. And if that wasn't already evil enough, she still forced them to keep performing against their will, whipping them with a belt whenever they, quote, misbehaved. It wasn't until they were age 23 in 1931 that they broke away from Hilton's family by suing Myers, who had taken over custody from Mary Hilton, which again was their adoptive mom. In the case, they got a settlement of $100,000, which, though a tidy sum, was just a fraction of what they had earned throughout all those years of performing. By today's money, that's equivalent of almost $2 million. Luckily, they went on to have a pretty decent career of their own, appearing in movies, Freaks in 1932 and Change for Life in 1950, and even publishing an autobiography. They passed on age 60 in 1968 from a flu that killed about 100,000 people in the US. Now that's really all it comes to when we're talking about Daisy and Violet Hilton, but everything they went through wasn't just suffered by them. There was also another pair of conjoined twins. Let's talk about Chang and Ann Bunker. Born in 1911 and hailing from a small town in Bangkok, Thailand, these Siamese twins found themselves in freak shows after Robert Hunter, a Scottish merchant, quote, discovered them. In a rather exploitative deal, he convinced their mother to just take $500 for the entire time they would be touring and entertaining. For context, at the time, as you'll see with some of the other performers that we're going to cover, there were some that made as much as $450 a week. The mother got $500 for letting her conjoined twins go on tour for 3 years where their boss was making way more than that. Yeah, it's safe to say she truly got the scam. I also believe the agreement was that beyond this initial amount, he would earn some more as they toured because it's alleged he barely saw any money from performances, and that due to injury, they were treated very poorly, just like the other twins. For instance, being handled like projects despite their very popular act. Eventually, once they hit 21 years of age, they ended their contract with Hunter, and because they never wanted to be in freak shows in the first place, they quit altogether. They mainly expressed dislike to being gawked at by audience members. Now, a rather weird twist in this story is that though they hated the idea of being exploited, right after they quit performing, they went on to buy and run a plantation with slaves. They had about 18 slaves, most of whom had been It's just really weird and kind of annoying and ironic that they were being
stronger than ever.
Whatever. Anyway, their ending was rather tragic. Chang resorted to heavy drinking in 1870, got a stroke, then caught bronchitis in his sleep in 1874 and died in his sleep. And being conjoined, died just a few hours later. Stephen Bibrowski and Ann Jones. It might be tempting to assume that performers who enjoyed doing freak shows did so from the very start. That, however, wouldn't be true, as Stephen Bibrowski, though loving the act later on, had a very difficult start to his career. Nicknamed Lionel the Lion-Faced Man, Bibrowski apparently ended up as a performer after being abandoned by his mother, who, rather than raise a baby with such an, quote, unsightly appearance, gave him up to an entrepreneur and financier in Warsaw, Poland. This was back in 1890. The mom, probably with no idea that her son had hypertrichosis or werewolf syndrome, just told people that he became so after his father got mauled by a lion while she was still pregnant. Yeah, I guess people somehow believe that. Now, Settlemeyer, the entrepreneur, simply saw profit potential in Bibrowski and immediately began parading him around Europe for cash, having already nicknamed him Lionel the Lion-Faced Man. Again, just as with the Siamese twins cases, he was drawn into being a performer from a very tender age with probably no ability to consent. It actually turned out later, though, that he ended up enjoying the craft, though he did have a dream of being a dentist. Obviously, a very different career path for the savage figure that he was painted out to be. The circuses he had performed for, Barnum and Bailey Circus included, had mainly marketed him as a really fierce being, and of course, as a result, people thought he was so. It wasn't until he settled at New York's Coney Island as a performer, and the people got close to him, that they found out he was actually just a small, intelligent man, even speaking 5 languages, with his own dreams and aspirations. Something worth noting here is that circuses, promoters, and agents seem to have this habit of exaggerating anything for more people to show up. It's like clickbait in these days. And obviously they didn't care as to how that made the performers feel. They would just dehumanize them for more ticket sales. A good example of this, and coincidentally someone who also had the werewolf syndrome, was Annie Jones. Also known as the Bearded Lady, Jones actually attempted to campaign against the use of the word freak when referring to sideshow performers. The general argument was that while they were created differently, that didn't really mean they were not equal or even superior to ordinary beings. Jones gave the example that while she got viewed as a freak, able to cause fright, her fine beard was no different from that of a man, and thus, if she was considered a freak, so should the men with such beards also be. Now, of course, I'm glazing over some of the details here, but the main point is that performers themselves frowned upon the perception that they were seen as less human. Interestingly, that pushback by Jones actually had some temporary effects. For about 4 years, they were referred to as prodigies instead of freaks, but then the word freak came back like a month left. Now, going back to Jones's act, her personal journey as a performer was also full of exploitation and what we might term as drama. For example, she had been thrown into the performance world at just 9 months of age. Yeah, 9 months of age. She was made to join Barnum and Bailey and was displayed at their exhibition, with her parents getting about $150 per week. Then, by the time she had a beard and mustache, which made her really popular. So popular, she got kidnapped by a endocrinologist who wanted to showcase her at one of his shows. So you can add kidnapping to the long, dark list of what was going on in the shows. She later got found though, and it was easy for the judge to determine who her real parents were, because although the phrenologist claimed to be her parent, the moment Jones saw her actual parents, she ran to them. Jones went on to perform into adulthood, changing her nickname to Bearded Woman, and even attempting a career in music. She, however, died fairly young at just 37. In Brooklyn after contracting tuberculosis after visiting her mother's home. And actually, a really sad fact is that towards the end of her life, she seems to have known no other life other than that of a freak. George and Willie Muse. We mentioned one kidnapping so far, and just to show you that it wasn't an isolating incident, there's also the case of George and Willie Muse, also known as the Men from Mars. Now, this isn't just a story about kidnapping, because there are a lot of more harrowing details of what the freak show agents and owners actually really thought about their performers, but more on that in a bit. First, the kidnapping. So, aged 6 and 9 in 1899, these brothers got taken from their home in Truvine, Roanoke, Virginia, which was a small sharecropping community battling the racism that was going on in Jim Crow South. Why? Well, the two had albinism, a pretty rare condition at the time, and would obviously fit right into the freak show business. It's unclear as to how exactly they were taken. Some say they were lured with candy, while others think their mother, Harriet Muse, had given them away just momentarily, only for them to never be returned. Either way, the man who took them, James Herman Candy Shelton, a circus promoter, not only made sure they would never return home, but exploited them quite a lot, branding them as Echo and Eco, the ambassadors from Mars. He displayed them across the US from 1899 all the way to 1917. That's 18 entire years of just being on the road, pretending to be from Mars. During this entire time, as we've seen with the other cases, the brothers were not paid. They were just given enough to survive on. And that really hits differently when you realize they would sometimes make as much as $32,000 a day from their act. Then, wages aside, they were often treated as just property because they apparently had moved between managers, being handled by managers Charles Eastman and Robert Strokes and carnivals and such. This was before eventually finding their way to Shelton. So basically, these promoters, agents, and managers were paying each other to use each other's property as profit. Obviously, property being these disabled humans. They also outrightly had no regard for the performers, marketing them as anything that would get audience. The brothers, for instance, marketed as Ethiopian monkey men, the Eastman's monkey men, and the ministers and the homies. This is under different managers, but they all just had to give a good meaning twist to get those ticket sales. Worse still, to show the narrative, they were forced to fight the heads of snakes and eat raw meat. Obviously, in order to impress the crowds. And again, as we've seen in some of the other cases in this video, this marketing completely performers and ignored what they were maybe better at. Shelton himself was, for example, surprised to later learn that Willie, one of the brothers, could not only play musical instruments, but also easily replicate a song after listening to it just once. But he didn't really care for all that because he wanted to strike a circus company to have the brothers at top as and when the brothers asked and cried for their family, Shelton lied to them, telling them that their mother was dead, claiming there's no use even asking about her. However, all that time, she had been desperately trying to find them. And this was already difficult, being that she was already a black woman battling a bias system in the South. Nobody even took her seriously when she spoke about the kidnapping. It wasn't until 1927, when the brothers were in their mid-30s, that they got reunited with her, much to the objection of Shelton. This happened when they had gone to a circus in their hometown and, just by chance, spotted her in the crowds and instantly recognized her. Having known no other life though, a year later, they signed a better deal with Shelton where they got paid their fair wage, though he'd still steal them from time to time. They did, however, ditch him completely in 1936. Surprisingly here is that circumstances forced them to keep working with a man who not only kidnapped them as kids, but stole them for years. There's actually no mention to whether or not he paid them their wages back. Anyway, the two worked until the 1950s before retiring in Roanoke, Virginia. George died in 1972 of heart failure, while Willie died in 2001, aged 100. Joyce Heth. So far, it's obvious that circus sideshows, aka freak shows, had a lot of exploitation built into them. However, even by those standards, when no one seemed to question these immoral attractions, there were still some incidents that rubbed people the wrong way. One such incident is the case of Joyce Heth, an elderly blind and paralyzed slave woman that P.T. Barnum, the founder of the Daily Circus, allegedly bought for $1,000 and went on to fabricate such elaborate lies about her that abolitionists came forth to condemn the whole thing as exploitation of a poor old slave for a profit. Some members too, also repulsed by the idea, forbade their congregations from attending these bizarre shows. So first, what were the lies about this poor old woman? The story that P.T. Barnum was peddling was that Heth was a 161-year-old nurse who took care of young George Washington. He had sort of come up with the story partly because one of Heth's previous owners had mentioned that she could have a connection to Washington. That was it. That was it. He just spun that and was like, that was George Washington's nanny. Barnum had bought her in 1835 from a man known as R.W. Lindsay. He was from Kentucky, and he had also bought her earlier from another guy, John S. Bowling. This last guy, Bowling, had marketed her as having a connection with America's first president. However, neither of these two owners had much success as Barnum because of the sheer amount of lies he came up with. And to be fair, the dude had his charisma, which I'm sure wowed a lot of people. But it was mostly the lies. In one example, he had described Heth as weighing just 46 pounds, that she was blind, had no teeth, had deeply wrinkled skin, and her nails curled out like the talons of a bird. But the main thing that got the audience's attraction was her connection to Washington. Barnum even allegedly relied on a fake contract from Bowling, showing that Heth had been owned by Augustine Washington, George Washington's father, in 1927, 5 years before George was born. To complete the lies while performing, Heth was made to tell stories of youthful George Washington, of course, all of them being the fabrication of Barnum. And it seemed even the media had decided to play along because in one interview published by the New York Herald, Heth's parts were presented in a dialect reflective of the 1700s. Now, probably the worst part of the story, yes, this somehow gets worse, is that after Heth died in 1836, Barnum still used her to make profit. Now you're probably asking, if she died, what could he possibly have done to milk her death? He held a public autopsy where he charged spectators 50 cents to watch. Now, over and beyond that, there's a floating claim stemming from historian Mary V. Johnson's analysis. The reason the public was so bent on believing the woman was over 150 years old and had nursed a president is that, at the time, sectional differences leading up to the Civil War were really escalating. People needed to believe in an earlier, purer time, and George Washington was nothing short of a symbol of patriotism and harmony. But again, all this came at a very steep cost to Heth's dignity and humanity. According to Thompson, the historian, Barnum really just turned his life into a historical caricature, all for a freak show.
Time to use a little tragedy.
Fedor Jefichuk. So we've already spoken about George and Willie Muse, the kidnapped brothers from Virginia who were forced to do horrible things, and I say that because this next case, that of Fedor Jefichuk, is further evidence of the deep dark tactics that were at play in the freak show. The main thing about Jeff, which I'm going to be referring to, the performer from Russia born in 1868, was the nickname he was given, Jojo the Dog-Faced Boy, and also just Dog-Faced Boy. This description was all the work of P.T. Barnum, the same man behind Joyce Heth. Barnum had brought him to the US when he was just 16, having seen he fit the bill to be in the circus sideshows. How so? Well, since the time he was young, Jeff had an excessive amount of hair all over his body as he suffered from werewolf syndrome, the same condition that Annie Jones, the bearded lady, and Stephen Bobrowski, aka Lionel the Lion-Faced Man, had. This meant that Jeff was as attractive to audiences as these other performers had been, and clearly in what was a pattern, Barnum gave him a weird backstory as a marketing tactic with no regard to what the truth was. He, for instance, claimed that Jeff had been captured by a hunter while living with his father in a cave in a forest. He depicted Jeff's father as a savage who couldn't be killed by the hunter and thus was killed by said hunter. The truth was that Jeff's father, having the same condition, had performed in freak shows just like his son, the wild man from the Kostroma forest, but sadly drunk himself to death with all the money he was making. The point though is that Jeff ended up with a demeaning nickname and an even more demeaning backstory. I can't tell which is more demeaning, and this particularly stands out as you realize Jeff was actually really intelligent. So intelligent that Barnum himself even thought he was one of the smartest freaks he had in over 50 years, but I really don't care about this dude's opinion if that was his whole thing. Jeff actually spoke multiple languages, and all that was never really emphasized though. Jeff only mattered to Barnum due to his appearance, and unfortunately, he was even made to act it out. How? Well, it's for instance claimed that he was forced to bark like a dog while on stage. Barnum would apparently tell audiences that when upset, Jeff would bark and growl, and so to complete the act, Jeff had to do so. Anyway, Jeff ended up passing on in 1904 while in Greece, aged just 35. The cause of his death was pneumonia. Now, if it's any consolation, Jeff was actually one of the highest paid performers at the time, earning about $500 weekly, which is about $16,000 in today's money. Obviously, that doesn't in any way justify it, but at least the man was making some money. He had about $300,000 in retirement savings, which is equivalent to $9.5 million today. Myrtle Corbin. Now, talking about being highly paid, the case of Myrtle Corbin also comes up as she earned about $450 a week due to her popularity. The sad part though is that, like some of the other ones we've spoken about, she got into the business at a very young age. Now, what do I mean by very young? Maybe 5 years old, 4 years old, 3, 2, 1? No, 1 month. Yes, 1 month old. Her own father was showing her off to curious neighbors for a dime. By age 14, she had joined the Barnum and London Tours, owned by P.T. Barnum, who I'm sure you know of now. She also later went on to perform with Ringling Brothers and New York's Coney Island. And surprisingly, all this was accomplished from ages 14 to 18. After 18, she retired. Now, what's also really strange with Corbin is the lengths people would go just to have it. For instance, when she passed on in 1982, her casket had to apparently be covered in concrete to prevent grave robbers from stealing her corpse. Family members had to quite literally take turns watching it until the concrete had settled and dried. No idea why they did her, but I'm just a random dude talking about this years in the future. It turns out that quite a few private collectors and even medical practitioners offered lucrative financial compensation to anyone who would deliver her corpse. Also, when she was alive, circuses really wanted to have her so bad that some even brought on fake acts that falsified performances. So, what had been so special about her? Well, she had been born adipose. This meant that she had 2 pelvises, side by side, and 4 legs. So, a total of 4 legs with her inner legs being too small for walking, though she could move them, and the outer legs well developed for normal use. She also had 2 sets of internal and external reproductive anatomies. It was actually rumored that 3 of her children had been born from 1 set of organs and 2 from the other set. Probably lucky for her, Corbin did not perform in freak shows for too long because after retiring at age 18, she never went back. She instead got married at 19 and focused on raising her family. She would later pass on at age 59 from a skin infection. William Henry Johnson. As we've seen in these previous cases, a lot of these people were given these savage backstories. Now, I think how society back then found all that okay and entertaining remains a bugging question because even while researching this topic, I found an entire scientific study dedicated to trying to figure out the reasoning and moral motivations behind whole freak shows in the 1800s and 1900s. And one of the cases covered in the study, as an example, is that of William Henry Johnson. Thought to have been born in 1857 in New Jersey, Johnson was one of 6 children in a very poor African-American family and had been born with a condition called microcephaly. This condition made his head develop at a significantly slower pace than the rest of his body and appear narrow on one end since the bones of the skull were sort of thinning. The medical description is tapering cranium. The condition was also associated with mental impairment, though it wasn't certain if this was evident in Johnson. Based on his appearance, Johnson, in the usual demeaning fashion of the shows, was nicknamed Pinhead or Zip the Pinhead. The Zip-Bit name came from Zip, C-O-O-N, a character in theater plays at the time. The plays were known to perpetuate negative stereotypes on black people. Anyway, back to the scientific study. The emphasis is on the fact that he was featured on P.T. Barnum's shows as a subhuman. He was displayed as one of the original What Is It freaks. Yes, they had a section titled What Is It, where Barnum, rather than lay out facts, would use provocative language to draw audiences to answer the question for themselves. That's once they saw the exhibits, of course. Apparently, that whole section came about during the time when Charles Darwin published the book Origins of Species. So, Barnum was sort of riding the wave. However, again, the larger issue was the dehumanization of performance. Johnson's fake backstory, for example, was that he was captured by adventurers who were in search of a gorilla around the river Gambia. He was said to have been part of a new species, a group of 6 beings that hadn't been seen before. The 6 were said to have been found roving around tree branches in a manner similar to monkeys around the orang-outang. The adventurers captured 3 of the 6, with Johnson being the only survivor after the whole ordeal. Further descriptions in his backstory, and even more demeaning, were that he had originally been walking on all 4s, and that his food had been raw meat, sweet apples, oranges, nuts, and such. He had even been called Dean of the Freaks and Monkey Man. An advert in one of the shows by Barnum also read that while he, Johnson, had some features resembling humans, some others, like his head, feet, and legs, were like the orang-outang. This, in addition to all else we've mentioned, helps in the narrative that he was somehow the missing link from humans and apes. And just like we saw with Jeff being forced to act out his description, the same thing happened with Johnson. That meant he would be revealed in a cage and made to rattle the bars and screech. In response, he would be laughed at, pelted with coins, and called the cross between the N-word and a baboon. Also worse, since his career spanned over 60 years, he endured all this for so long that he was regarded to as the most famous freak in the world. And lastly, over and above all that we've covered, he was apparently silenced by Barnum regarding his true backstory by being threatened that he'd be denied his $1 a day salary. Johnson passed on in 1926 due to bronchitis and is said to have performed until the very end. Isaac W. Sprague. Now, just to round this all up, it seems that for most performers, enduring tough work conditions and retiring, specifically retiring a mess, wasn't uncommon. And maybe no case speaks more to that than that of Isaac W. Sprague. Isaac joined Barnum's freak show in his 20s, having been desperate to find work and having no luck anywhere. Barnum had agreed to take him in for $80 a week, and was also desperate to build back up a new act after his museum caught on fire and was destroyed. Now, the thing about Isaac is that he had a pretty rare condition that meant working on the road was quite draining. And honestly, I think this is a little too much to show on YouTube. Y'all know I'm already kind of scared from getting my videos taken down pretty frequently, but just imagine a very skinny man, a very small and skinny man, okay? I don't want to show that because I think they would claim it's like self-harm or something, because you guys know what I mean. You guys can look up his name on Google, you can do that too. Anyway, he had progressive muscular atrophy, though at the time he hadn't been properly diagnosed and no one really knew what he had. He had simply developed normally up until the age of 12, before he began to rapidly, alarmingly lose weight, despite being a very healthy eater. In adulthood, he weighed about 43 pounds, while being 5'6". As his condition got worse, he had to carry a flask of milk around his neck just to be malnourished. So you can probably imagine how difficult his life was already with the conditions and not even wanting to be a part of freak shows, but that's the only way he could have made money. Again, like the making money part, that's for all of these people. Maybe not bearded ones, maybe you could have like shaved it and blended in society, but again guys, I'm a random 22-year-old telling you guys stories that I find interesting. Anyway, he sadly passed away, though earning a decent wage through his Skeleton Man performance and enduring a medical condition. He died in poverty in 1887. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. I don't really make like goals, but man, let's just say, damn, I don't know how you guys are gonna do. 30K likes. That's not that crazy. So leave a like button. It actually lets me know I'm doing something right. And if you aren't subscribed, make sure to subscribe. That's really it. If you want to see more of my life, go follow me on Instagram, Twitter, all that. And I'll see you guys next time. I am.
If you've been alive for a while and you've been on the internet, you've probably heard of a little guy named Morgan Spurlock. He's known primarily for his movie Super Size Me, which came out in 2004.
You get the McGurgles in there, you get the McBrick, and you get the McStomach ache. Right now, I got some McGas rocking.
This big-ass movie, Super Size Me, blew up in popularity on the brand new website called YouTube.com, where it was viewable with ads, of course.
Since 1980, the total number of overweight and obese Americans has doubled, with twice as many overweight children and 3 times as many overweight adolescents. The fattest state in America? Mississippi, where 1 in 4 people are obese.
One of the things I hate about internet browsers is how bullying they are. I love personalizing stuff and ruining it. I love ruining stuff. I like taking something that's great and ruining it with my own sense of style and love. Today's video is sponsored by Opera GX, the ultimate browser that you can ruin for yourself. Seriously though, if you use Chrome, Safari, especially Safari or Edge or any, you're missing out, bro. Opera is awesome. It's the ultimate browser for gamers, and it's got cool little widgets that are built in, and it's fun and it's cool, and yeah, it's cool. There's mods and what the why wouldn't you? It's like RimWorld but for browsers. You got custom sounds when you close and open tabs, keyboard sounds. Why would just download it? Click the link in the description and download Opera. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. It's one of those no-brainers. So yeah, download Opera GX using the link in the description and go to the GX store and explore the endless possibilities for customization. Some created by Opera GX themselves, some created by ne'er-do-wells existing in the liminal space between
like
reality and the internet. Liminal space.
Do you not
Sidebar
remember
thing
the
is my
extra
personal favorite. I have so
ADHD
many
which
apps in mine. I've got
included
Discord,
work in the
TikTok,
past?
Facebook. I don't have TikTok or Facebook. You can get those though. I have Spotify and ChatGPT. It's pretty sweet. And if you use another browser and you have a bunch of bookmarks and things along those lines, like I do, you can just use the quick import tool and it just copies everything over, and it's awesome. It's pretty cool. Guys, I actually like Opera GX. I'm grateful to have them as a sponsor on my channel. Check out the pinned comment or go in the description and download the Opera GX. Thank you to Opera GX for sponsoring this video, and thank you guys, most importantly. Morgan Spurlock kind of became like the first big-time mukbanger, and if you think about it, in a sense. And recently, it seems that he was canceled, and then also right after that, he unfortunately died. And it's not good. It's a sad situation, and I'd like to cover it because it's complicated and it's interesting, to be honest, because he was canceled a week before he died. So why was Mr. Spurlock canceled? Was it for no reason, like what has happened sometimes? No, it was found that some of the information that was in his documentaries was considered misleading. And this is bad, right? Because when you're a documentary guy and you do some documentary stuff, you're supposed to be honest and truthful so people can learn. You can be used as an example of how to change your behavior potentially then. I'm not sure. I watched that Jiro Dreams of Sushi movie. Didn't do shit, but I liked it. You know? And like I mentioned, shortly after his cancellation, he died. I think nowadays, anyways, the Super Size Me documentary, if it were to be made, would probably be poorly received because it's sort of a fat-shaming thing, whether or not it's true or factual or untrue or infactual. Is that the opposite of factual? What is it? What's the word for when something's not true? I forgot.
I was at this meal, and it came up that one of the people was a smoker. And somebody else at the table started hectoring about what's the matter with you, how bad it is for you. It'll do this, that, and the other thing to you, and you really should stop. And the smoker, rather than saying, fuck you, which, is like, mind your own business, which I think is the appropriate response, was abashed and defensive, and like, oh, I tried to quit, and yeah, I'm gonna try again, and you're right, and so on. At that same table, there was a quite large woman. And I was wondering, what if this guy, instead of confronting the smoker, had said to the large woman, what's the matter with you, you fat pig? Don't you know how dangerous it is to be so overweight? Stop eating, for God's sake, and don't you dare get dessert, and what's the matter with you, right? Same logic. I'd be hard-pressed to find a distinction between those two examples. Okay, so one is now socially acceptable to hector smokers, but the other one isn't quite yet. So the question is, at what point will it become acceptable to publicly hector fat people
Este game está cabrón.
in the way that smokers are publicly hectored?
The release of Super Size Me was a point in time in which they raised the question, can you publicly heckle someone for being fat and eating unhealthy? Like what has become sort of common to do with smokers and people who vape. You just mass shame them until they quit. Is that okay? Spoiler, it's not! And it never was, really, to be honest. And it's even less okay now than it was when Super Size Me came out. So, little bit more about Mr. Spurlock. He already had a successful career before he produced Super Size Me. He began his career in 1999 by winning an award at the International Fringe Festival for his play The Phoenix. Dude was into some weird shit. Who is into plays? Do people actually like plays? If you like plays, press like on this button. I mean, on this video. Press like on this button right here. Am I looking at it? Is it down there? And I don't give a shit if actually you press like. I would actually prefer if you left this video and did something outside. You know, something like that. I'm not sure. Or if you went to sour.gg and bought our weekly candy that we release. 52 weeks, 52 flavors. We hope. We're going to try our best. So far, it's been 2 weeks, 2 flavors. Pretty solid. 3 p.m. Central Standard every Friday. New flavor, sour.gg. Sign up to the email list. Delicious candy. Mr. Spurlock, on top of winning some awards for his play The Phoenix, won more awards the following year at the Route 66 American Playwriting Competition for the same play, I guess. I don't know a lot about plays or what that requires or what those are. You can probably tell by watching Mr. Spurlock's doc that he took some inspiration from some other very famous documentaries around the time. However, he hailed Brothers Keeper by Joe Berlinger and Bruce Sinofsky to be the greatest documentary ever produced. I don't know why we put that in the video, but it's kind of an interesting fact. You should watch it, Brothers Keeper. First, press the like button.
It is even a second.
Another little interesting fact that I didn't know until researching this is he was inspired to make the film Super Size Me because of a lawsuit that he saw on TV where someone was claiming that McDonald's was directly responsible for the obesity pandemic and specifically the effects of fast food on 2 overweight girls.
In 2002, a few Americans got fed up with being overweight and did what we do best. They sued the bastards. Taking aim at the fast food companies and blaming them for their obesity and illnesses, a lawsuit was filed in New York on behalf of 2 teenage girls. One who was 14 years old, 4'10" and 170 pounds. The other, 19 years old, 5'6" and 270 pounds. The unthinkable had suddenly become reality. People were suing the Golden Arches for selling them food that most of us know isn't good for you to begin with.
Kind of a ridiculous lawsuit. Just gonna put that out there, guys. Just gonna put that out there. Is it McDonald's fault? I don't know. Is it equally McDonald's fault as it is the 2 overweight girls? I don't know. Is it? Let me know down below. Comment down below. Fuck.
Where does corporate responsibility end and personal responsibility begin?
Yeah.
I mean, do you blame liquor stores for alcoholics?
Yeah. No, I mean, well, liquor stores don't spend $1.2 billion a year advertising their products.
Well, certain alcohol stores
Well, they spend do. Right, exactly. But I think that, you know, for us, we need to accept responsibility for what we eat. Parents need to be better role models for their kids. You know, if you're a parent and you eat out 3, 4, 5 days a week and you don't exercise, you're going to raise kids that eat out 3, 4, 5 days a week and don't exercise.
Sort of a summary for the documentary is that Spurlock committed to eating only McDonald's for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. 30 days, see what would happen to his body, see what effects it would have as a relatively healthy man. Not good, not good. It reminds me of the time that I committed to the 30-day Topo Chico diet, where all I drank was Topo Chico for 30 days. If I would have gone 10 more, I'd have been sort of like Jesus. After the release of the film, it would be nominated for numerous awards and win the very first Writers Guild of America award for Best Documentary Screenplay. It's pretty impressive. To just hit the ground running on YouTube, viewable, free with ads. Oh my God. Food, McDonald's, I love McDonald's. I want to go eat some McDonald's after this video, I think. Well, we'll see, actually. This could turn people off of McDonald's. I could be sued for losing them business, potentially. As any great artist does, Morgan also decided to write an accompanying book to the film in 2005 titled Don't Eat This Book, Fast Food and the Supersizing of America. Genius, man. You gotta hit him with the whole shebang. You gotta get him with the book and the documentary / YouTube video. Pretty chill, TBH. The same year that he would put out the film, he would create Warrior Poet Productions and publish all of his preceding work through his own company. He also worked for his brother through their production company on numerous projects. The guy was quite a busy little bee, TBH. After this, Morgan would go on to work with FX and produce a show called 30 Days, in which a person or a group of people, or even Mr. Spurlock himself, would live in certain situations for 30 days.
Some people want to make coal a thing of the past, but with so much cheap coal right here in the good old US of A, others say, why stop? And this got me thinking. We hear a lot about coal these days, but what about the people who mine it? What's life like for the guys I grew up around, who stayed in West Virginia and who go underground every day to keep our world powered up? There's one way to find out, as I go back home to West Virginia to work as a coal miner for the next 30 days.
Living with a Muslim.
Tonight on 30 Days. A practicing Christian from West Virginia goes to live in the heart of Muslim America.
Could I pass for an Arab?
Will the clash of cultures confirm his belief that Islam is a violent religion?
You guys think it's possible that there's any, like, sleeper cell activity around here?
Genius! It's like Mr. Beast, if Mr. Beast had personality, if he had mojo. Just kidding. He's got plenty of mojo. I'm just teasing. I'm just giving him a light ribbing. He deserves it. Let's be real. That guy is doing well. All right. I deserve it. I'm a idiot. The show would run for 3 seasons from 2005 to 2008, and his next work would be with MTV on a show called I Bet You Will. The premise of the show, which was originally a 5-minute webcast, was to bet people to do crazy things.
I bet you will brand toilet paper, and I bet you will brand molasses. Well, guess what? We are going to put the molasses on you. Wrap you up like a mermaid. For $20? Up in 25? $50. $75. 75? Shake the hand. She's gonna
I bet you will. Get it? It's in the name.
This is official I Bet You Will brand lard. Our lovely sweeper slide all the way down to 90 pounds of uncooked bacon. Feel it. Most creative slide wins. Okay? The winner is gonna take home $50. Everybody else wins nothing. Just a bunch of lard on your body.
Burger Andy collabed on this with the worm burrito. Eating worm. That's a deep Twitch Lord joke there. He also ate a jar of mayo on the show along with the worm burrito. It's pretty crazy. He was the main host of the show, and some of Mr. Spurlock's other work includes another documentary called Where in the World is Osama Bin Laden, which sounds like a terrible children's book. And in this film, he would Lord Miles it up and visit numerous African and Middle Eastern countries and talk with people, political figures and the like, and members of the respective armies to figure out exactly where Osama bin Laden is. He also talked just in general about Islamic fundamentalism and the US's war on terror. Spurlock was considered an embedded journalist, or a journalist attached to a military unit in active combat. Pretty interesting stuff. Way more difficult and way scarier and way more dangerous than eating McDonald's.
Where's Osama bin Laden?
If they are real, they're new.
I'm not a politician. I know nothing about a politician. I'm a carpet dealer. I sell carpet.
Interestingly, in the film, Morgan Spurlock speculated that bin Laden was hiding near Peshawar, Pakistan. When bin Laden was found, he was only 200 kilometers away at Abbottabad, which is ridiculous. What's even crazier is in a report in 2017 directly from the CIA, Spurlock's documentary is found on one of Osama bin Laden's hard drives. By the way, look up the other stuff on Osama bin Laden hard drive. I singulated it. It's supposed to be plural. He had more than one hard drive. He had some weird shit on his hard drive. Guy was a weird dude, to be honest. So yeah, the point is the guy was prolific and he was considered a legit journalist, and you know, there's some interesting stuff that he did. He contributed a lot of stuff journalistically, more than I ever have in my entire life. But it still comes down to the fact that no film that he made has had as great of an impact in the world, such as Super Size Me, specifically the success that it had. Not really the impact in the world, more so his success. It was gigantic. Now, what exactly was Super Size Me? Well, you came to the right YouTube channel. Super Size Me would shed a light on America's unhealthy relationship with fast food. Okay, guys.
Each day, 1 in 4 Americans visit a fast food restaurant. And this hunger for fast food isn't just in America. It's happening on a global basis. McDonald's alone operates more than 30,000 joints in over 100 countries on 6 continents and feeds more than 46 million people worldwide every day. That's more than the entire population of Spain.
I also have an unhealthy relationship with fast food. I see food in my house, in my refrigerator, and I'm like, would it be easier for me to make something, or would it be easier for me to order something and have it brought to me? That is very bad that I think that way and that I do that. And we all should probably not do that anymore. back to Super Size Me, it was well-intentioned, it seemed at least, but it was also misleading and, quite frankly, disingenuous.
I was extremely disappointed when I saw this movie. Here was an opportunity to actually provide insights into a serious problem. In fact, all it turned out to be was an extreme stunt where someone engaged in irresponsible behavior of eating twice as much as is required every day, limiting physical activity. It was a complete disservice to anyone looking for factual information or real solutions.
And that's according to a lot of people, not just me. I really don't have any idea. I got no dogs in the fight, to be honest. I'm not huge. I'm not supersized. I don't eat a lot of fast food. I'm a relatively healthy guy. I do sell candy and shit, but like I also don't claim that it's like good for you. It's candy, you know, eat it or not. It's cool, it's fun, whatever. And also, I have less dogs in the fight because I didn't go to public school, and apparently, according to some sources, this film was shown all over the US in schools as a means of deterring children and people in general from eating too much fast food or trying to be healthy, which is good. It's a type of, it's Michelle Obama code, to be honest. It's good. It's good. I feel like it's a good thing, right? Yeah. I watched Jiro Dreams of Sushi while I was being homeschooled. Just kidding, I did that like one day for lunch or something in 2017, I forget. I didn't watch anything when I was being homeschooled. Sorry, I got a little distracted. I was texting my boyfriend. I don't have a boyfriend, I was just kidding. I have a girlfriend. We're not actually really girlfriend, boyfriend though. It's just for the cameras. Just for, you know, we're not really, we don't really do that. You know what I mean? Anyways, what's bizarre to me is that Super Size Me, in spite of me never really watching it as a child or really knowing what it was, I still knew what it was. I heard about it. I knew about it. It was a gigantic meme. Feels like it's been around forever, but ironically, it hasn't. And that's ironic by the definition of it. You see, before 2004, it didn't exist. And now, though, it's huge. It's part of the pop culture zeitgeist and has been since 2004. And it's a dope-ass experiment wrapped up in one little blockbuster. It's all about the effects of fast food on the human body with a focus on McDonald's because it offered a supersized meal, which was the peak of American portion sizing, which is a meme in and of itself. And that's been a huge thing in America. And I feel like the mid-2000s were
I'm gonna try to just keep on going and getting my 6 matches or whatever.
Just red pilling people with fast food. I guess red pill marketing, or would that be blue pill marketing? Would that be fat pill marketing?
These are bots, man. They're not doing shit,
It's evil. And it gets signed off on by doctors and shit too. It's crazy how many just lie studies back up stuff based on marketing. It's wild. I see we burn everything.
I mean, what would happen if I ate nothing but McDonald's for 30 days straight? Would I suddenly be on the fat track becoming an obese American? Would it be unreasonably dangerous? Let's find out. I'm ready. Supersize me.
Early on in the documentary, Morgan raises the question, where does personal responsibility end and when does corporate responsibility begin? And me, a person who is incredibly wealthy and corporate, I would say never. It's all personal responsibility. At the same time, a human being with a brain, I understand that there's a level of just lies that they can get away with. And they can just lie to you and mislead you and lead you astray, and then you'll buy their shit for money, and it's evil and it's bad, and I think it's an important conversation. This idea of the end of personal responsibility and the beginning of corporate responsibility, I think is a cool thing to revisit consistently throughout this video, because it's not like McDonald's has people outside their doors, like pointing, you walk up McDonald's and it's like, you have to come in, you come within the radii of a McDonald's. All right, now you have to come in and order 15 Big Macs. Obviously, they've got brains, they can make decisions, but also psyops are an actual thing, and marketing is basically a big psyop. That's why I try really hard whenever I sell my candy that's bad for you. I'm just like, it's candy. Because I don't want to lie to people. Because I'm not Farmer McDonald or whatever. Ronald, clown. I'm a regular guy. One thing of note additionally is that the prices of menu items in 2004 were drastically different than they are now, especially with all the big heist prices and all that price hikes and all that shit recently. Also, prices just vary dependent upon where you are, and you can see the swing from low and high prices on this map that we've got. Pricing around the U.S. showing the price of a Big Mac depending on location. I'm gonna live wherever they're cheapest, but the Big Macs are pretty cheap here, unless you have someone drive and get it for you, with DoorDash. Then it's really expensive and not worth it, but I do it still sometimes. Usually when it's raining. Or icy, or inclement weather of some kind. It's dangerous, and I don't want to go out. So I put someone else in danger. I'm just kidding. So that's true. I do that. Sorry, I guess. Back to the prices. There are extreme ends of the Big Mac price, but the middle lies around $5.75 or so. So, you know, a couple dollars, not terrible. Back in 2004, it was closer to $2.50. It is more than doubled since that movie. What are you doing? What's that sound? Why are you making so much racket? How did you even make that sound? Additionally, Mr. Spurlock for the Super Size Me documentary had 3 doctors monitoring his health during the strict McDonald's challenge to see how it's altered by the challenge.
So I enlisted the help of not 1, but 3 doctors. A cardiologist, a gastroenterologist, and a general practitioner.
Each of these doctors do their own individual tests. Before he ever takes a bite of McDonald's food, there's a cardiologist to monitor heart health, a gastroenterologist, which does stomach stuff, and like gastrointestinal stuff, I think. I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say that that's what they do. If I'm wrong, then sorry, I guess. That's what I've got errors and omissions insurance for, though. And also a general practitioner who did, in fact, put a finger in Morgan's butt, which is pretty cool.
I'd like to be more thorough than that.
I like Dr. Pinturo.
You're gonna go downstairs, get your bloods drawn.
You know, provide a thorough examination, Dr. Phil style. Did you guys know that Dr. Phil's not a real doctor? Isn't that shit funny? He's a psychologist. That's whack. That's nonsense. Anyway, all this stuff seems like it has to be scientific. Right? Well, the only way to know for sure how an entire month of McDonald's impacts the human body is to closely monitor 2 primary systems that relate to your health in general, and then a general practitioner. So it seems like, they ask him questions about his substance abuse additionally to get an idea where he's at, and this will come in very important later on because it's just an important part. It comes in very important. It's a little bit sad, but you know, we'll get to that.
Any alcohol use?
Now, none. I wins for my...
I used to, but I don't.
Any drug use at all?
Not for a long time.
They ask Morgan if he drinks or smokes or uses drugs of any kinds, and he says no to all of those things, like I do whenever I'm getting my life insurance testing done. No, I don't do any of that stuff. I actually don't. I'm very, very extremely boring and annoying. In another twist of irony, Morgan happened to also be dating a vegan chef during the film, and I think I need to learn what irony is. I don't think I know.
Yes, I'm a vegan chef. I just don't know if I can. Of course I will. I'll sit next to him while eating McDonald's. Of course I will. I'm just gonna be rolling my eyes the whole time.
So I'm sure she was thrilled to watch him go through 30 days of eating the worst quality food in the entire world. She probably was. Her name is Miss Katie, by the way. She, I think, is the vegan teacher on YouTube. Maybe? I'm not sure. Could be different vegan. That's a lie, by the way. I'm sort of doing a little bit of misleading for this video. She did say, though, before they started that she thought it might affect the relationship, which is pretty funny. It's pretty wild, very bold and honest.
I know he's gonna do it for a month, but I think after a week he's gonna be really irritated. I think it's gonna affect our relationship.
The relationship is pretty important too, because ahead of this, the man was eating relatively healthy. Before he embarked on this experiment, he had a healthy diet because of his girlfriend or wife or whatever. So the shock that he had to endure was probably more so than the average person.
Vegetable tart and a quinoa and roasted veggie salad, artichokes and a simple green salad, all beautiful vegetables that you're gonna miss so much.
What am I gonna have that's organic?
In the next month, nothing.
Nothing.
You're only gonna have genetically modified potatoes.
Or maybe not, I'm not sure. He went from eating a lot of green stuff to burger, gray stuff. Shit that would survive the nuclear apocalypse. Have you ever seen the time lapses of McDonald's, like the McDouble? They just stay the same. They just stay the same. So normally stuff rots and bugs eat it, but McDonald's hamburgers, they stay the same. And I tell you what, they look this. Whenever I eat them, they just come out as like it's like a hamburger. Like it's like a long hamburger. Normally poop turns like brown. For some reason, whenever I eat McDonald's, it just comes out as like a long hamburger, like a ham dog. In the film, there's a bunch of on the street type interview stuff as well, asking people how frequently they eat fast food and where they go.
Do you eat fast food? Once in a while. Yeah, once in a while. How often?
And this establishes just how Americans kind of enjoy fast food. It's cool. How much they indulge. I really like the documentary. All jokes aside, it's a really entertaining watch, and it's cool. If you've never seen it, I recommend watching it. It's interesting. It's good. It's good. Rest in peace, Morgan Spurlock. This gentleman goes once every 2 weeks.
I'd say probably once every 2 weeks.
There's one guy that goes 4 times a week, which is quite a lot.
3-4 times a week, maybe?
And then there's also a European French woman who says she doesn't go at all to eat fast food in America because she thinks it's unclean. But she does eat fast foods in France because it's different or something. I think the rules are different. I'm not really sure. Actually, I am 100% sure the rules are vastly different. They're way easier here. Don't eat the candy. It's full of shit and piss and rot.
In France, yes.
Yeah.
But here, not. I don't like here. It doesn't sound very clean.
And, fucking Bud just standing there, bro. Fucking Bud, man.
Taco Bell. McDonald's is pretty close.
She also says that the small size is the larger size that's available in French, which I call bullshit on that, but also not French. Thank God!
Ever have a supersized?
Oh, better call Marty.
In France, the small size here is the bigger size. Even the small size here, I don't drink.
It's a lot of information. These examples also give an idea of the frequency which people choose to eat something that isn't the best for them. It's either never, if you're a French person, or a couple times a week, or just not that all. It's about personal choice, really. They're establishing the idea of personal choice. These people just choose when they go to fast food places, and they're aware of it in their mind. They have control. Morgan, on the other hand, is going to the extreme of extreme ends of this experiment by eating it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So most people just have a level of control, a modicum of rationality that they live their lives by. A modicum. That's tiny. It's small. It's ironic, really, because of how big everyone is. You know, we have an obesity crisis. So, you know, I thought that might be funny somewhere. Someone laughed, I think. Tough crowd, though. Tough crowd. So Morgan has rules for himself, and his rules are to be as unhealthy as possible. Very few people are going to be going to McDonald's to the same degree that Mr. Spurlock does.
McDonald's doesn't sell it, I can't eat it. I have to have everything on the menu at least once over the next 30 days, and I have to have 3 squares a day. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. No excuses.
Now, interesting little side fact, there was another lawsuit on the behalf of 2 obese children targeting McDonald's, blaming the fast food chain for the children becoming diabetic, experiencing heart disease, among other things, because being incredibly unhealthy is very bad for us. So there's a reason that the word unhealthy exists, and obesity is considered a disease. It causes metabolic disorders. It starts to, you know, you get one, it's like a Pokemon. You can't just get one. You start to get all of them. All right, you start going down the list of metabolic disorders when you put shit inside your body for a really long period of time and are sedentary. It's bad. It's really bad. In the documentary, Morgan asks some of the same people we've already seen on the street what they think about the ongoing lawsuit with people suing McDonald's over the child's weight gain, children's weight gain. The French woman believes that it is ridiculous because it's American to sue for everything, which I would agree. I think that's nonsensical. I think suing people is dumb, generally speaking, unless they just blatantly lie about you.
People who are suing these fast food companies.
Yes, I've heard. Yeah. I think it's ridiculous, but it's the American way to everything.
But we got another Chad who says that he'd throw the lawsuit out if he was a judge because he can walk past a sign without walking in, so why can't they? And brain rot, El Bozo, child, El Bozo, little kid.
I'd throw the lawsuit out if I was the judge. And like I was saying, if these fast food places can put their signs up, if I can walk by them and just totally ignore them and say, I'm not hungry, I don't need this, they can do it too.
How does a kid even drive to McDonald's? So yeah, you get the idea though. It falls back on the question we asked in the very beginning. Where does personal responsibility end and corporate responsibility begin? We will continue to ask this question throughout the length of this video, or whatever the don't know how to do words very well. Now, we'll do a little bit of backing up that fast food chains, restaurants, McDonald's in particular, can be somewhat held responsible for this kind of weight gain and health issues because of the claims that they make on the potential impact or health.
One of the most disturbing things to me is that in the last 20 to 25 years, we've actually seen a doubling of overweight and obese children and adolescents.
And this weight gain has been linked to countless health problems later in life, such as hypertension, coronary heart disease, stroke, gallbladder disease, osteoarthritis, sleep apnea, respiratory problems, endometrial, breast, prostate, and colon cancer, dyslipidemia, steatohepatitis, insulin resistance, asthma, hyperuricemia, reproductive hormone abnormalities, polycystic ovarian syndrome, impaired fertility, and adult-onset diabetes.
Everything has potential side effects. Have you ever listened to a commercial about any kind of pharmaceutical medication?
Don't take Ozempic if you or your family ever had medullary thyroid cancer or have multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2 or are allergic to it. Stop Ozempic and get medical help right away if you get a lump or swelling in your neck, severe stomach pain, or an allergic reaction. Serious side effects may include pancreatitis. Gallbladder problems may occur. Tell your provider about vision problems or changes. Taking Ozempic with the sulfonylurea or insulin may increase low blood sugar risk. Side effects like nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea may lead to dehydration, which may worsen kidney problems.
There is half of the length of that commercial just listing off side effects. Death, shitting, dysentery, blood, consumption. You will die from consumption. Nightmare, 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 Victorian child. Basically, in every aspect of life, you need to be careful and you need to be rational when making decisions that could affect your health. It's all about moderation, regardless of what you're doing, whether it's eating a lot of prescription drugs, eating McDonald's, drinking alcohol, smoking drug. You have to do it in moderation.
Easy.
Troglodytes. Come on! What the?
I think those were bots.
Come on, Hunter Biden! Somebody get this guy a crack pipe. A solid point in the film is that we live in a world where you can choose to eat food that makes you fat, and you can also choose to eat food that doesn't make you fat. And to prove this point, Morgan brings on Jared Fogle.
Hi, I'm Jared the Subway guy, and this is my story.
Overnight, ABC News confirming Jared the Subway guy Fogle is expected to plead guilty to charges related to a child investigation.
The guy from Subway, the file from Subway. Subway's #1 file.
So without further ado, let's welcome Jared Fogle.
My big thing was never smoking, it was never drinking, obviously it wasn't doing drugs. My big vice was food. And before I knew it, I wound up weighing 425 pounds. I brought in a present for you. My old pants that are now made famous in all the Subway commercials.
He's like a public speaker. He showcases his transformation, and Jared essentially had his own ad campaign with Subway to showcase how much healthier Subway is to other fast food, which is just not true.
For years, I ate fried food and burgers that looked like this. And I looked like this. Then I found Subway restaurants. And I realized I could enjoy lots of great tasting food without lots of fat.
That's just not even true at all, dude. You can get shit at Subway. Just because you can get like bread and a little bit of lettuce and stuff doesn't mean it's less healthy or it's more healthy overall. It's nonsense. Calories in versus calories out isn't just a picture. That's not the full picture. Is it healthier than McDonald's in general? Yeah, for sure. Obviously. I mean, yeah, but I would not consider Subway healthy at all. I mean, I'm a big hater of Subway, especially since the Jared Fogle thing happened. He really brought him down. I haven't been to a Subway in years. And also, they just suck. Too. Subway just sucks. It's like, why not just make it at home for cheaper?
Hi, I'm Jared the Subway guy, and this is my story. Young guy eats too much junk food and gains a lot of weight. Guy changes his life by eating at Subway twice a day and walking a lot. Guy loses over 200 pounds and keeps weight off for 17 years. Guy now has 2 kids, and even more reason to pass on better eating habits to young people everywhere.
Yeah, this dude's like the EDP of fast food, for real. I mean, actually. It's a fucking weird guy. This part of the documentary is essentially Subway propaganda, which I will not have. It's not real, it's fake. Don't listen to this. Subway sucks. Sure, it's healthier than McDonald's, probably, maybe. But like at the same time, I will never say that either one of those things are... They're not apples and oranges. It's apples and Granny Smith apples and a Red Delicious apple. They're the same thing. Subway's whack. Okay. Big Subway hater right here. I'd rather eat Church's chicken or some shit like that. This part is hilarious. They even allude to the solution for weight gain in children being 2 Subway sandwiches a day. That's wild.
I guess it's kind of cool to know somebody or be able to listen to somebody
everybody talk about actually being where I am right now, and it's kind of hard because I can't afford to like go there every single day and buy a sandwich like 2 times a day, and that's what he's talking about. Like that's the only solution. Like that's what he said that like worked the best, but I can't do that.
Now, on to Morgan getting his first supersized meal. He
I can't do
claims he's
that.
getting the sweats and shakes from all the sugar.
Just give me a minute.
I'm in pure McDonald heaven.
This is gonna be you like after every meal.
Oh, I'm dying.
Oh, God, that's so nasty. Oh, it's making me puke.
He even throws up after eating all that food. You don't have to eat that much, dude. I don't even eat all of it for one, and I also don't throw up after I eat it. What the It's not that disgusting. How much sugar is actually in the McDonald's meal? Well, guys, if we look up a large Big Mac meal, there's 1,300 calories and 89 grams of sugar. How is that even possible? And some meals have like 95 grams and 68 grams and stuff. How was there that? Is it just from the soda, I guess? It's gotta be, right? It has to be, because there can't be that much in a Big Mac. And there's carbs that are different from sugar. It's like similar, but they're different still. I don't get it. Anyways, 5 days into the experiment, we get to see the results when he goes to get a doctor checkup, okay? 10 pounds of weight gain in less than a week, over 5% of his body weight, from 185 to 195 pounds in less than a week. What the
It was 186 last week.
192, 193, 194. No. We have to stop everything. I don't believe it. 195 pounds.
Wait.
It can't be. No, we have to redo this. That's zero. The thing is zeroed. Second try. 88, 92, 94.
You're gained actually about 5% of your body weight. Losing weight that fast and gaining weight that fast is not healthy.
He also starts feeling depressed a weekend, which makes sense because it sounds like that would suck, eating only McDonald's for a week. That sounds terrible.
I don't feel good today. Not that I feel sick, but I just feel really depressed. You know, for no reason. I mean, things are going great. We've had a good day. I just feel really, yeah. It's not real hard eating this food all the time. Just because, you know, it tastes good. It makes you feel good.
Now, the question could be asked, is it the food doing this that's actually making him feel depressed and gaining all this weight? Is it just him lying to make a more compelling documentary? Because it would be quite boring if just nothing happened. And it actually was calories in, calories out. You know, he's eating 2,000 calories a day, let's say here, and then you swap that out with McDonald's, you're not gonna gain 10 pounds in a week. That's not how that works. It's just not how that works. If you're finishing the whole meal, maybe, but people don't often do that. Maybe they do. I'm not exactly sure. A lot of open-ended questions for this part, though, right? I don't know. I've never eaten McDonald's every day for a week, but I tell you what, my kitchen was being renovated for a while last year, and that shit sucked because all I was eating was Chili's. I felt unwell for a while. All I ate was Chili's. Chili's and Taco Casa. Not good. Both of those suck, to be honest. Not good. Very bad. Very, very bad. Not good. Morgan then meets up with old son Don Gorski, the Big Mac enthusiast, a man who is famous for only eating Big Macs and is honestly pretty skinny, all things considered. It's pretty interesting. He looks like a pretty regular guy. In fact, in March of this year, he hit 34,000 Big Macs. He's like one of those guys in Fallout that eats the pink slime. He's a ghoul. Insane to think about. Brody's eaten 34,000. Since this film came out, he's eaten 15,000 Big Macs, and Morgan Spurlock has died. What a crazy amount of stuff happening. In the doc, they show on a McDonald's sign that he's celebrating his 19,000th Big Mac. It's like a cool milestone, wholesome, family-friendly moment. Kind of odd to be celebrating, to be honest. This dude is a shining example of what eating a lot of Big Macs will do. We can all aspire to this level of swag and drip and cold-ass just swag. I mean, look at his haircut, the impeccable diet. He's renowned in his field, the field of Big Macs. That's pretty cool. I like this guy. Watch my face hole. Haircut is insane. That is an awesome haircut. I cannot get enough of that. Look at that thing. That's wild. Back to the doc, they call attention to the advertisement of sugary cereals, drinks, and fast food, highlighting that there is an epidemic of these kind of foods that are being propagated to children endlessly on television. This is a problem that still exists, in my opinion. God, there's something wrong with me. I think there's something wrong with me.
The average American child sees 10,000 food advertisements per year on television. 95% of those are for sugared cereals, soft drinks, fast foods, or candy. A parent who eats every meal, every day, for the whole year with their child, and every meal gives a very compelling nutrition message and can bring in cartoon characters and Michael Jordan, so instead of selling McDonald's, he sells oranges, and Britney Spears, instead of selling Pepsi, will sell radishes or lettuce or something. That parent will have 1,000 cracks at their child compared to 10,000 for the food industry. So it's not a fair fight.
Buy some Sour Boys, I think. Maybe you should do that. It's ironic, because it's like advertising on my channel. I don't know, dude, I suck. You ever realize how bad I suck? When it comes to children, though, it is up to the parents to make the decision on behalf of the children, because they're children and they can't be trusted with any sort of decision. Respect food, what games they should be playing, none of it. You can't trust children. What the? Don't trust children. They can't purchase foods. It's up to the parents. I will say, though, I believe there is something to sort of predatory advertising that's targeted as children. We've seen the COPPA things and the way that YouTube has kind of changed its entire guideline system based around gathering the data of children and advertising towards children. It's bad. It's real bad. Plus, you just have YouTube for kids now. They don't even monetize shit for kids, and it's like the worst nightmare ever whenever you get a video just for kids and there's no comments. The comments get turned off, and then in come the babies. Fucking watching it, scrolling on their iPads. Now, what about schools, though? Because parents don't really get to choose what food's offered at school. Is good, healthy food offered at schools? No!
The one place where the impact of our fast food world has become more and more evident is in our nation's schools.
Can I get a shot of your lunch right there? You got a cookie and some fries. You gonna have anything else? Nope.
Ketchup.
Schools are probably a bigger problem than fast food when it comes to children, but I don't know. I'm not really that smart. All I know is my parents didn't let me eat anything unhealthy, and it was like a treat. It was like a very, very guilty pleasure type thing. You know, it'd be late at night, stop at McDonald's, I'd get an iced coffee, eat me some French fries. You know, dude, I used to love going to McDonald's. It was such a rare, cool thing. And I feel like that's a good balance, because now I have, you know, excellent sort of health, hygiene, and good logic instilled in my brain when it comes to food. I don't know. I was also homeschooled and incredibly isolated. I wasn't really sheltered, but I was just isolated and alone. So, enough about me. How are you feeling? A lot of schools are shit. I was homeschooled once again. I have no idea. They provide government MRE, baby, frozen foods, sloppy joes, things like that. Stuff that needs to be reheated and reconstituted. And generally speaking with kids as well, they just eat whatever tastes best because they're stupid and their brains are small and they're dumb and they need to grow up and stuff. And they don't have any idea of what abstract thoughts are. And they can't, like, you know, object permanence and stuff. I think that's like a 3-year-old or whatever, but I don't know, dude.
Can I get chicken fries, please?
Is that your own one?
Well, I'm getting milk. It's my calcium and vegetables.
You don't think you should mix anything like I love the like Swiss rolls. I use 8 packs of these all the time. Are we saying it's not
nice shot? I won't let that happen again.
Because the child likes to cook stuff. So she's not going to cook. The child isn't going to cook stuff.
But that's all she
happy. But it doesn't mean it's all she's going to eat.
Right.
You have to follow her back to her table and say,
we gotta go find Lori. That's all she's gonna eat.
All I'm saying, bud, you hand a carrot to a kid and a Big Mac, kid's gonna eat a Big Mac every single day. So would I. I'd actually eat the carrot first and then I would eat some of the Big Mac. That's what I would do. That's how my brain works. To further pontificate the fact that diet has a profound effect on behavior when it comes to children, they claim a school is experiencing behavioral issues amongst the children, and those behavioral issues largely turned around when the diet that they provided the students with was good. This is the school, by the way, that inspired Obama.
Appleton Central Alternative High School is filled with students who have truancy and behavioral problems. But they've turned things around, not through discipline, but through diet.
We were fortunate to kind of stumble across this healthy program as a result of some contact with Natural Oven and Bakery of Manitowoc, Wisconsin. And they believe in low-fat, low-sugar, non-chemically processed foods that are free of dyes and preservatives, full of whole grains, a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables, We do no beef here at all. And then it's the method of preparation where we don't fry. We do a lot of baking and then just fresh preparation as opposed to opening cans or thawing things out from the box.
We got rid of candy machines, soda machines, brought in bottled water, and it was just a situation where we saw a major change in the kids.
All right, I made the Michelle Obama joke. That's oh, this is gonna be that can't be good. That's the Michelle Obama joke. This is the school.
And Amazon never backs down from a fight.
It is now. Shit. It is now, bud. Obama! I think personally this school just cares more, and not all schools are created equal, and not all faculty are created equal, and not all students are created equal. They're just taking more steps to provide better food, and they're probably making better decisions elsewhere too.
You know, if you walk through these halls and you're here, these do not look like at-risk, out-of-control kids. Their behaviors are better, they seem to be more focused. Teachers will tell you that they get more out of them in the class.
Keep in mind, this is not a private school. These are the quote-unquote troubled kids of the public school system in Appleton, Wisconsin that are eating so well. And it costs about the same as any other school lunch program.
They just provide more for their students. It seems cool. I like whenever a school kind of takes an initiative and doesn't just fall at the very baseline of what's federally legal, so they can get money from the government. We did a bit of researching ourselves. I actually have a lab coat in the other room that sometimes I put on and Google stuff, and same with my team as well. We do a bit of research, to be honest. And when you do some research on this specific thing, a correlation between behavior grades and food, the CDC website has a study which seems to indicate that students with higher grades are more likely to engage in healthier choices. So I don't know if it's like, so dumb kids eat unhealthy, and smart kids eat healthy, but it's not like diet leads to higher grades. So that would be funny. So it's like one way it's true, another way it's not true. Imagine if you just fed kids healthier, they'd be smarter. It'd be awesome. I tell you what, I wouldn't be. I'd be upset. I'd just be pissed if I couldn't have a Dr. Pepper every single day. 3 or 4 every single day. I'd be pissed about that. I lie a lot, it seems like. I say a lot of untruths, and I feel bad. I must
Clearly a workout.
I must. In the doc, they claim that every school isn't like this because of junk food companies fighting back because they make gigantic profits off of children.
So my question is, why isn't everyone doing this?
There's an awful lot of resistance from the junk food companies that make huge profits off the schools at the present time. They don't want to get kicked out of the school system. They want to be there to addict the children for life.
The soft drink companies especially boast about how they're contributing to America's education.
Getting these kids addicted to their food will eventually lead to them becoming lifelong customers. So it's like the long con. Kind of makes sense, right? It's kind of what I'm trying to do with candy stuff, to be honest. Trying to get people addicted. Long-term customers, repeat customers, baby. The 18-day check is one of concern in Super Size Me. Poor Mergen. He's feeling terrible.
I feel horrible today. My headache's coming back again. It feels like somebody's yanking on the tendons behind my eyes. My body officially hates me.
All the vitamins that you see here, vitamin E, thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, and so on, are all 100% what you need. You're getting quite a lot of carbohydrates, and I know clearly that those are all refined carbohydrates because those are coming from buns, biscuits, hash browns, okay? And the sugar. I mean, let's not forget the most refined carbohydrate of all, which is coming from your milkshakes and your Coke.
In fact, there are only 7 items on the McDonald's menu that contain no sugar whatsoever. French fries, chicken McNuggets, hash browns, sausage, Diet Coke, coffee, and ice cream.
And the test results are that he's not like he's a young guy either. He's like a kind of not an older dude, but he's kind of middle-aged guy. His test results are bad. His cholesterol is higher than it has ever been.
This was 165 before, now it's 225. A liver that's inflamed in any way or sick in any way will leak some of this enzyme into the blood. So this is very non-specific, but it means the liver is sick. Yeah. And the most likely cause of your liver sickness is a fatty liver. Your liver is now like pate.
Or at least it's higher than it was before because he's been eating only McDonald's. It went from 165 to 220. Those numbers mean nothing to me. Maybe they do to you if you're a cardiologist. 18 days in, his third weigh-in, he's 202 pounds. That is just under 20 pounds heavier than when he started.
202.
Yeah, you lost a pound.
Oh, thank God. Muscle weighs more than fat, so no, you might have lost some muscle mass and gained some fat mass.
I lost a pound. Let's go get something to eat.
And magically, he gets some McDonald's in his system. He perks right up. He no longer feels sad, almost as if he's like an addict. And he's got his fix, dude. Maybe he's addicted to McDonald's. McDonald's!
I was feeling bad in the car. Feeling like shit. Really. I was feeling really, really sick and unhappy. Started eating. Feel great. Feel really good now. I feel so good, it's crazy. Isn't that right, baby?
Yeah, you're crazy, all right.
Give me a Big Mac. This, if you couldn't tell, is the next point that the film is trying to make. Trying to point out that people are becoming reliant upon McDonald's, and it's like a big conspiracy, basically. An interesting tie-in here, though, is that during the film, Morgan and his girlfriend get into an argument regarding this part of the corruption of the food industry.
I'm not gonna completely become vegan just because you want me to.
I'm not saying you should do it because I want you to. I'm saying that you need to think about what you believe is a system that is corrupt and immoral and
Always
wrong.
working on new material.
But you're going to be a part of it. Where is the disconnect there? Why don't you make that choice?
Why don't I make the choice to not eat meat?
Yes.
Because
You like it.
I like
Because
meat.
it tastes good.
I like bacon. I love pork chops. Ham is the greatest thing
Heroin
ever.
is awesome. I'm sure it's
Heroin
great.
and ham are in completely different categories. I'm sorry, but ham and heroin are not the same thing. They're not. They're not.